It's June 1st, the start of hurricane season. Our job today is to make sure you have everything you need to know to face the fury. Where you live matters. If we need to evacuate, do you know the route to take? And with all the construction on our highways, we asked TxDOT their plan to get people out fast.
There are other westbound roadways that they could take.
And the valley's drainage system. Will it work during a storm to keep floodwaters out of our homes?
Don't see it until you get that rain event, and then you really think about, oh wow, we need this.
Plus, building a hurricane supply kit.
Let's go up and see how much all of this costs.
We're adding up all the essentials. And keeping the lights on during an outage. We have tips to help you pick the right size for your home.
A portable generator is probably enough for most households.
The next 30 minutes, what you need to know about the 2023 hurricane season as we get you ready to face the fury. Hurricane season is here. Devastating winds, torrential rainfall, coastal storm surge, all things we can expect if a storm heads toward the valley. In May, a small tornado with winds of up to 105 miles per hour swept through Laguna Heights. The EF1 tornado was on the ground for less than half a mile. The entire event lasted only 2 minutes, yet it did this damage. Took one life and injured nearly a dozen people. Many left homeless. Imagine now a hurricane with the same winds lasting for hour after hour. What those hazards do to your home, your family, your business will depend on what you do now to prepare. Welcome to Facing the Fury. I'm First 15 Chief Meteorologist Tim Smith. The Valley is no stranger to hurricanes. Just 3 years ago in 2020, the middle of the pandemic, Category 1 Hurricane Hannah roared across the valley after making landfall near Port Mansfield. In 2008, Hurricane Dolly, also a Category 1 at landfall, moved over the valley bringing strong winds and torrential rainfall. Over the years, we've had a lot of close calls and near misses. Brett in 1999, Gilbert in 1988. We took a big hit from Category 3 Allen in 1980. But the benchmark storm for the valley, 1967's Hurricane Beulah, which brought devastating wind and rain to South Texas and northern Mexico. Hurricanes do happen here, so start planning now. One of the first decisions you can make right now is whether you plan to stay or leave during a hurricane. If you plan to evacuate, start thinking about your route. There's construction going on and you should plan accordingly. Here's meteorologist Cecilia Gutierrez.
So we've all been here. We're sitting in traffic and we're waiting for our turn to move forward. And right now it's rush hour, so there's a lot of it. This is just a growing pain from construction and wanting better infrastructure. But here's the thing. What happens when we have to evacuate or have a major evacuation due to a hurricane? Well, thankfully, TxDOT has the answers for us.
The lines get super long, so we end up just avoiding the highway altogether.
Drives that should take around 30 minutes to get home are now taking an hour and a half.
We have to deal with the awkward turns and extra bit of time just to go around with the traffic, especially during at night.
Traffic is a daily occurrence. We all see it during rush hour. Hundreds of cars backed up on the roads. Now think about what happens if we need to evacuate during a hurricane. The amount of people on the road grows. These are two major routes you can use.
Our designated interstate routes are I-2, which is also US 83, dual designation highway, and also I-69C, which is also US 281.
And the construction? When TxDOT says their crews would stop work and before the storm hits, they would store heavy equipment. But if traffic looks like this now, what about when more people are trying to use I-2 and I-69C?
We would recommend to drivers, if you can avoid a construction zone during an evacuation, during a storm event, please do so. But if you do have to drive through a construction zone, be on the lookout for any flying debris, any materials that might fly onto the roadway.
This is a special case for the Valley because of construction along one of our major evacuation routes. The good news, I-2 and I-69C aren't the only way out.
There are other westbound roadways that they could take. There's Military Highway, there's State Highway 495, there's US Business 83, State Highway 107. You don't have to take the designated evacuation routes.
This map will help you get a better idea of where you need to go. In a worst case scenario, contraflow would be enacted. That's when all lanes of the highway will be converted to travel in one direction.
So essentially I-2 from Brownsville all the way to Pharr would be converted to westbound lanes, and then I-69C, which is US 281, would be shifted to northbound lanes.
And it's not just evacuation routes. TxDOT says other roads like 495 or Business 83 can also shift to one direction during an emergency.
So remember, when it comes to evacuations, you can't just pack up your stuff and leave. It takes a plan, and the plan starts now. You need to plan for yourself, your family, and your property in case you do need to leave it. In Pharr, Cecilia Gutierrez, Channel 5 News.
Whether you decide to stay or go, there's some things you need to look out for before, during, and after the storm. Here's meteorologist Sergio Puente.
There are many hazards before, during, and after a hurricane. Here are some that you may consider.
Before the storm, rushing and panicking is the last thing you should do. This can lead to accidents. It is important to remain calm, prioritize safety during preparations.
Preparing for hurricanes often involves tasks such as boarding up windows, or moving heavy objects like this big, large basketball goal, or outdoor furniture.
These activities can put a strain on the body, so it is important to follow proper lifting techniques or ask for assistance if needed.
During hurricane preparedness, many people may be using tools they're unfamiliar with using, such as a drill. You might want to check the owner's manual just to take a look at the safety tips for those tools.
When installing generators, it is best to hire professionals for installation. But if you're using a portable generator, it's important to follow all safety procedures. Remember to keep the generator dry and in an open space to keep the fumes away. The next thing to consider is the evacuation process. There will be increased traffic congestion, thus a higher risk for accidents. Also remember to fuel up ahead of time. The last thing you want is to be stranded on the side of the road. During the hurricane, stay indoors in a secure location away from windows and doors. Heavy rainfall and storm surge can lead to severe flooding, especially in low-lying areas. High-speed winds in a hurricane can cause significant damage to structures, trees, and power lines. It is crucial to trim weak branches and secure outdoor objects that could become projectiles during the storm. Hurricanes often result in widespread power outages. Have a battery-powered flashlight, a portable radio, and extra batteries on hand. While the immediate threat may have passed, the aftermath of a hurricane can still be dangerous.
This manhole is about 2 feet wide. With rising flood waters, this cover can lift up, float away, leaving this manhole uncovered. If I walk through here through 6 inches of water, this may be invisible to me, and I could fall right through that and drown.
Standing water can create breeding grounds for mosquitoes and increase the risk of waterborne diseases. Use appropriate protective measures such as insect repellent and follow public health guidelines. Be cautious when entering damaged areas. Assess the structural integrity of buildings and beware of weakened roofs, walls, and floors that could collapse.
In Edinburgh, for Facing the Fury, Sergio Puente, Channel 5 News.
As we continue, we'll look at how our drainage situation has improved since the last big floods in the valley. We'll have your hurricane supplies checklist, and we'll see just how fast 90 miles per hour Category 1 wind really is. Stay with us.
Facing the Fury is supported by Aztec House Leveling and Remodeling, Lee's Pharmacy, Magic Valley Electric Cooperative, and Safeguard Insurance.
We all know the valley's history when it comes to floods. It doesn't take a hurricane. June 2018 is a good example of that. Part of what helps us prepare for floods is the valley's drainage system. It's a constant work in progress. Christian von Preissing explains what challenges those planners are up against.
When it rains in the valley, often it pours. Unfortunately for us, the floodplain where we sit is especially flat. The water tends to sit. Our drainage systems help to keep it from affecting us.
You don't see it until you get that rain event, and then you really think about, oh wow, we need this.
The challenge our drainage district has is moving it all out to the Gulf.
A drop of rain falls here over by Abram Road, and the expressway is going to end up here in the Arroyo Colorado.
In Hidalgo County, the network of drainage systems spans more than 600 miles.
Water comes here, and it splits. Part of it goes north, and part of it goes south through the Arroyo Colorado.
District Manager Raul Cecin says the web of drains were built after Hurricane Beulah. That historic event devastated the valley, killed dozens, and left thousands homeless. Back then, the valley was more agricultural.
Everything was moving much slower, much less than it is now.
Since then, Valley cities have grown, adding homes and infrastructure.
More streets, more pavement, more rooftops.
Now when it rains, the floodwaters rush faster, with less soil to dampen its movement.
Now that a lot of development has taken place, we do have that peak, what they call, that happens sooner than later. So that water that does rush off faster and gets into our system faster, and it tends to push water much faster than it would normally before.
Those are the challenges to flood control.
Starting at 400 feet,
400
all the way
feet,
up there.
yes.
Surprising, and then down here it gets
This gets a
real
zero.
low.
Zero, right?
In a region where elevation changes little and gravity isn't much help moving the floodwaters away. Christian von Preissing, Channel 5 News.
Even with improving drainage, there are some areas that are going to flood, some that always do, and some for the very first time. How you recover from the flooding will depend on whether you have a flood insurance policy. Here's meteorologist Karen Gonzalez.
I was born and raised aquí in Huelaco.
Look at the water.
For 70 years, Beto Gonzalez has been a proud Valley resident. In 2018, his home was one of the hundreds flooded in June.
It started raining and continuous and harder. And then the water started coming in. And we tried to pick up some furniture or something, and then we just kept on going. And we had about 2 feet of water inside, like never before.
The damage was heartbreaking for him and his wife.
We never had water inside the house, never. And I've lived here on this property, more than 50 years.
Even after the water receded, the problems did not end. The contaminated water ruined pictures, tools, clothes, furniture. Their home even needed new sheetrock and insulation. The cost added up.
Washer, dryer, stove, everything was non-usable. Everything had to be replaced. It was about an average of about a little over $10,000 or something. We averaged it of what we had to replace.
Flood insurance helps cover those costs. An inch of water can cost more than $25,000 in damages, and typical homeowners and renters insurance won't even cover items ruined by the flood. According to FEMA, the average cost of insurance is around $700 a year, which is around $60 a month. Keep in mind that price changes based on your home or state. It's been 5 years since the storm, and Gonzalez says he has no plans to leave his home of 50 years.
All the kids, the grandkids and family members, everybody, neighborhood, this was the family get-together for all the kids. We had grandkids and compadres and nephews and everybody, and all the boys were in sports. So we would have the whole team como sardinas all over the place.
Remember, an area with low flood risk does not mean it cannot flood. Flooding can happen anywhere at any time, even if it's away from a large body of water. Now, if you do want to consider insurance, remember it takes 30 days for it to take an effect. For Facing the Fury, Channel 5 News, Karen Gonzalez.
When we come back, we'll go over some things you can do to make your home more resilient to a hurricane's wind and rain. And we'll see how hard it is to stop something flying at you at 90 miles per hour. Don't go away.
Facing the Fury is supported by Aztec House Leveling and Remodeling, Lee's Pharmacy, Magic Valley Electric Cooperative, and Safeguard Insurance.
Sometimes it's hard to imagine what debris being pushed by hurricane-force winds looks like, how much damage it can do. So our Rudy Medelis took to a batting cage to get a look.
According to the National Hurricane Center, winds of 74 miles an hour or more can destroy buildings and mobile homes. To show you an example of the speed, we wanted a UTRGV baseball team slugger to crush some dingers. Unfortunately, they were on the road, so I borrowed a jersey. The starting speed of a Cat 1 hurricane, 74 miles an hour. Let's start with 35.
Hopefully Coach Matlock isn't watching for my form, because this is bad. 30 to 35, all right, so 30 to 35 miles an hour. Not terribly fast.
I'm connecting, so let's try 55 miles an hour.
Oh, my Lanta, that is, woo, that's a lot faster than you think it is when you step into the box.
Now finally, 75 miles an hour. That's starting speed to a Cat 1 hurricane.
Oof, man, I can just hear it whipping right by. It's so much faster, 55 to 75, that I don't even have time to look at the ball. It's coming so fast that it's already past me before the time I'm quick enough to react. And you can just sense how fast it's coming.
At 75 miles an hour, this 1-pound batting cage ball is now a missile, bringing pain even when using something to swat it out of the air.
Oh! And that's why you need to hold onto your bat tight right there, because if not, that thing is coming so fast. I feel the stinging coming up through my forearms when I made contact there.
But you can do things to protect yourself ahead of the storm. First, bring in all small objects that could become projectiles, or tie them down. Cut weak branches down from trees, and cover your windows and glass doors with plywood.
Rudy Midelis, Channel 5 News.
Flying debris, tree limbs, lawn furniture, garden gnomes, all capable of being picked up and launched at your house. Here's meteorologist Rudy Midelis with some things you can do to make your home a bit more resilient.
Making homes more storm resistant. It's something people have tried to do for decades. Julie Rochman is retired now, but she used to be the CEO of Insurance Institute of Business, Home and Safety. She says they tested homes to find out how they come apart in a hurricane, so they can learn how to keep them together.
No home can be hurricane proof. Yeah. But there are things that we can do to make homes more resistant to hurricanes.
Their research found how a home is built is more important than what materials are used.
Concrete is fantastic, but you can have a wood frame house, if it's built correctly, that will withstand the storm just as well as that concrete house.
Building correctly can come down to the smallest of things.
It's also important that you guys are well aware of the importance of the proper nail pattern, even in the shingles. So when you start seeing, high winds, if they're not nailed down correctly, you're prone for them to fly off, come off, or become loose.
Now that hurricane season is upon us, the time to prepare your home is now.
So what does that mean is...
President of Gomez 3 Construction, Efrain Gomez Jr., says building codes are also something to look at.
There are certain components in your house that are built not only to code, but above code.
Even if your home is already built, there are ways to make sure it's protected from strong winds of a hurricane.
These are different ways that homes can fail. If a door blows open, then you let the wind pressure in. If the garage door fails, you let the wind pressure in. If a window breaks because of debris, you let the wind pressure in.
Just like you get your home ready for winter to stop cold air from coming in, you can also do to prevent strong winds from damaging your home. I'm meteorologist Brittany Mireles.
Now it's time to work on your hurricane supplies. We'll take a look at what you need in your disaster kit when Facing the Fury continues.
Facing the Fury is supported by Aztec House Leveling and Remodeling, Lee's Pharmacy, Magic Valley Electric Cooperative, and Safeguard Insurance. Facing the Fury is supported by Aztec House Leveling and Remodeling, Lee's Pharmacy, Magic Valley Electric Cooperative, and Safeguard Insurance.
Welcome back to Facing the Fury. Knowing what to put in your hurricane kit is very important. It's also important to start stocking that kit now. Here's Channel 5's Trey Serna with some things you'll need.
We can't control Mother Nature, but we can prepare for her. Hurricane season starts on June 1st and runs to November, but right now is the time to start getting ready. We're here in Mercedes outside Borderland Hardware Store, and we're gonna go inside to show you all the supplies that you should be putting in your hurricane preparedness kit. Let's go. If you do lose power, you're gonna wanna be able to see. One way to do that is to buy a lamp, and don't forget the lamp oil. Or you can get a flashlight, and don't forget the batteries. Another important item to grab is an ice chest. You're gonna want a different size depending on what you need, but this should be enough to carry some water, some food, and any important medications you might have. A raincoat and some rain boots might also come in handy. And don't forget about preparing your home. Bring things inside that can easily fly away, and for things that you can't bring inside, buy a tarp to cover them up and some rope to tie it down. Another thing you might want for after the storm is a water pump. That way when there's standing water around, this can help pump out that standing water. So we got most of our essentials. Let's go up and see how much all of this costs. Right now, we're looking at a total of more than $200, and we're not done. One item that could really come in handy is a home generator, but it's going to cost you.
So portable generators usually start around $500 and they peak at about $1,500, maybe $2,000. Standby generators, on the other hand, start around $2,000 or $3,000, and you can expect to spend at least that much on the installation.
That's Paul Hope with Consumer Reports, and he broke down some more things you should keep in mind when shopping for one.
You want to look for a generator that's sized to put out enough wattage to power the things you would really need in an emergency. A portable generator typically runs on regular gasoline like you'd get from the pump, and they produce up to about 8,000 watts of peak power. That is probably enough for most households, but you may not be able to use everything at once. For anything bigger, you want to look to a standby generator, which usually runs on propane or natural gas. That will kick on automatically if the power goes out and power everything in your house.
Those are just some items you should consider, and so it doesn't feel like one big financial punch, start buying things slowly right now so you'll be better prepared later. Trey Serna, Channel 5 News.
The 2023 hurricane season is here, and forecasters are calling for an average season. But the important thing to remember is it doesn't matter if there are 30 storms or just one. If that one hits you, it was a busy year. So the time to prepare is now. Do your insurance checkup, plan your evacuation route, start stocking up on your hurricane supplies. And of course, download the Channel 5 weather app where you'll be sending you watches, warnings, video updates, and more. Throughout the hurricane season, count on the First Warn 5 storm tracking team in both English on Channel 5 and Spanish on Noticias RGV to keep you up to date with every storm, every day. We'll also be on social media and on our website as well. How your hurricane story ends will depend on what you do today to prepare. The more you do today to get ready, the better the ending to your story will be tomorrow. Start now. Thanks for joining us tonight.